And we will now widen the perspective again by moving on to the sub-project of design guidelines, emphasizing the product context of leather and hence leather chemistry. So let's welcome design researcher Dr. Jonas Rehn-Groenendijk.
Yeah, thank you very much, Desiree. I will directly jump into the sharing of my screen. Great. Okay, so I try to keep it a bit brief because we are a little bit running out of time. So in the next couple of minutes, I will talk about the process, how we got to the Handbook of Leather Design for Sustainable Development, which is a bit of a change of names from design guidelines. And in order to do that, I will very briefly outline the project as such, the sub-project, and then come to the results. And in the last part, I will talk about a field test. And this field test, which was meant to be an industry test, turned out to be a competition, a leather design competition. And as already mentioned before, today is also the day that we will announce the winners of this competition. So that's a bit the scope of the upcoming 15 minutes, more or less. So what was the actually objectives of the sub-project here? We had in fact two objectives. The major one was to develop some kind of tool or guidelines together with industry, NGOs and academia to support the development of more sustainable leather products. And as we heard before, now also with the legislative developments in this context, we see that there's a big momentum in this. So it just adds to the developments we see all over the world, in fact. And secondly, the second objective was to apply these tools, these guidelines in some sort of pilot study, which was originally planned to be in collaboration with the industry and academia. But we soon noticed, of course, that the development phases in the industry, even in the fast fashion world, are still too long for the project as we are running now out of time. And therefore we moved a little bit to the type of competition we eventually organized. But let's focus for the next couple of minutes on the first objective, the tool to help develop more sustainable leather products. We had a big project group, and you've heard that already in the beginning of today's conference, so I don't go into detail here. And there were, in fact, many more companies involved in this sub-project. I just want to emphasize that here, as well as in the other ones, we had a co-creation session with agencies from the academic world, from industry and NGOs and many more. And the process, well, first of all, the research question, what did we focus on? The overall question, in fact, when we try to help to develop more sustainable leather products, we first have to ask us, what aspects do we need to consider when we want to create more sustainable leather products, which is not so easy because it doesn't only come down to the choice of a specific type of leather. It's much more. And in close relation to that, it's also the question, what are the relevant design principles we can apply here? And sometimes these design principles don't originate in the fashion world. They might come from some other design disciplines which we can transfer and apply here. Thirdly, are there specific, and obviously there are specific properties of leather, and maybe also something that we might call more sustainable leather, that we should address by design, such as its specific durability, the possibility to repair leather products much more easily than other materials, and many, many other things which should be addressed in the design throughout the whole process. And last, and certainly not least, we talk about business models. At the end of the day, there needs to be a business case in order for more sustainable products to be successful on the market. And that's why we also thought about things such as product service systems and many other aspects of this topic. Now, I just want to emphasize, and I cannot go into detail here, that we conducted a very big quantitative survey with citizens from Darmstadt and region, which is obviously the center of this research project. And we found, I want to point out two relevant aspects here. First, that still today people associate with leather material and products that are natural, that are of higher quality, and that are somehow a little bit like more environmental friendly and robust. And I think that is something the industry has to make use of, because we see a tendency to shift this, talking about vegan leather and all the other developments in this context. So there is some value in the image of leather that we can use in favor of sustainable development. And secondly, we also found out that people are willing to spend more money if they can be sure that the product is what we might call somehow more environmental friendly, and they would pay even more if they were able to to trace hides and maybe even chemicals. So we see that there are a number of resources, a number of potentials we can use throughout the supply chains, and in particular by design. And for everyone who's interested in this, we share the results in a fact sheet, and I can quickly also post the link to this PDF file. Now, coming back to the project, and really only in a nutshell, this project was a number of workshops together with the industry and other partners in some kind of a ping-pong style. So we had a workshop, we elaborated on the results of this workshop, we got feedback on these results, and we implemented this feedback. And this went a couple of times. And after a certain time frame, we divided the entire group into smaller groups of co-authors, and these co-authors, these groups respectively focus on specific elements and wrote somehow a chapter about this. And this chapter then eventually received a quality check and proofreading and so on. And today is the final day, so to say, on which we are able to publish the result of this very long, more or less 2-year process. So to cut a long story short, what is in fact the result of this process? The major result, in fact, is what we call the Handbook of Leather Design for Sustainable Development, a systemic transdisciplinary approach. I'm not sure whether you can see this right now. This is the book that I'm holding in my hands, and it's available as a print version, but also as a freely downloadable PDF file, which you see here if you type in this link, and I can also share it in the chat box. And I want to emphasize that it's based on a Creative Commons license. So you are free to use it, to copy it, to send it to your colleagues, partners, and clients. And on a very short note, the whole book, the handbook, covers 242 pages, is divided into 6 chapters, and comprises of 22 articles that were written by 24 authors and contributors from 15 different organizations. So you see, we really try to focus not on an academic piece of paper, but really what we call a transdisciplinary paper that will combine different disciplines, the industry, and many other actors. Due to time reasons, I cannot become here more specific, but what we see here is that readers gain knowledge on a technical field, such as what are the supply chains, how is leather in fact produced, what are the different possibilities in this context, but also on the cultural background, on the history of leather, what is like the cultural value we can address in the design process. And obviously we also address things such as consumer psychology, issues such as willingness to pay, or how we can affect the way users will use and maintenance the leather products at hand. So this is a bit like, in a nutshell, what we created. And out of this handbook, we also created some kind of spin-off, which we call Leather Product Design Canvas. And some of you might be familiar with the famous business model canvas, which is a very quick tool to create and improve business models. And the Leather Product Design Canvas is in fact based on the same principle. It covers more or less the same chapters as the handbook, but addresses them with specific impulse questions. And the way you use it is that either at the beginning or throughout the process, or even after the development of a product, you use this piece of paper in a very explorative way to broaden your horizons. Because after all, the focus here is to gain a systemic perspective on your product, not as an isolated object, but rather as entangled in a number of different streams throughout the supply chain and ecosystems. Everyone who's interested in that can also read the manual of that in chapter 5.2 of the handbook. So you see there's a bit of more knowledge on that one. And again, this is also based on a Creative Commons license. So you can just type in this short link here and you will directly be guided to a PDF file to download, apply, share it. And we are very happy if you review this document and give us some feedback on that. So I'm sorry to run a bit through these results, but you're very welcome to ask me questions afterwards, or also get in contact with me after the conference today. So this is, in a nutshell, the two major results we had in this project. And we actually plan to test drive these tools with the industry. And as I said before, that turns out to be a bit more difficult, not because the industry is not interested. In fact, the industry is already using these tools, but we find that it's difficult to pinpoint specific products because the time frame is much longer than, for instance, in university settings to develop products. And that's why we moved a bit the focus here and created a field test in the way of a leather competition, which we called More Sustainable Leather Products 2022, which was a classic leather competition and mentoring program. And it was addressed to design students all over the world, but also designers, design agencies, brands, companies, and everybody who's interested in this topic. And I want to emphasize that the focus was not on designers as per se, but on everybody who's in charge of creating new product. Obviously, that doesn't have to be a designer or a design team by default. Now, this process was supported by a big amount of jury members and mentors from all over the world, from different faculties, from different disciplines, but also from different fields of industry. And the process, in short, consisted of 3 phases. Phase 1 was the entry level, sorry. So applicants handed in a design concept based on a template that we provided and based on the leather product design canvas. And the most successful ones were chosen to be part of the mentoring level, which was phase 2. And in 3 online mentoring sessions, these participants received expert knowledge and training from experts from the industry and academia. And after this 3-session phase, we had the final phase, the final submission phase, in which participants were asked to send in again design concepts, but this time more elaborated in some kind of report of around 10 pages. And this elaborated design shall be based on the insights provided in the handbook of leather design. And we received really a number of very interesting, very thoughtful design concepts. I want to emphasize that it's about the concept, not about the final aesthetic design. And eventually in phase 2, we had 8 teams consisting of 14 participants from 4 different countries. And when I'm now announcing the winner of this award, finally, I want to stress here that all 8 teams, all 14 participants are in fact winners because they reached the second phase of this award, of this competition. And reaching that phase requires a specific knowledge or a specific expertise here. And they also all received the training of these 3 sessions. And I think that really, because it's always difficult if you pinpoint one person or one group to be the winner, it's very important to consider that in fact everybody gained knowledge and reached this second stage. So you all will also, because I know the participants are part of this call today, you will all receive certificates of reaching this phase 2. Now, due to time reasons, I cut this long story short. Who's the winner? Normally I would have now a drum roll to announce this. And in fact, because we are very, I didn't choose it. There was a jury, giving points to each category. And the winners were very close, in fact. So I want to, we decided that there will not be one winner of the award, but we will have something like the Olympic Games. We will have bronze, silver, and gold. So the bronze award, which is Sustainable Leather Product Award Bronze 2022, goes to Ian Karishma from ATK Polytechnic Indonesia. And the concept is JTAK Athletic Mount Sandals. I don't go into detail here. I think people who are interested in that, we are very happy to connect you. But overall, it was very interesting to see that here technical features were connected to some kind of cultural design decisions, which we found was very interesting in terms of emotional attachment with the product. Now the second prize, so to say, the Sustainable Leather Product Award Silver 2022 goes to Dino Jackson from the Central Footwear Training Institute in Chennai, India. And the concept is Winsum Shoe, which is somehow an abbreviation for winter summer shoe. And I want to stress here that the jury did not select the concept only because of the formal aesthetic design, which is obviously related to some of the iconic shoes we all know, but it's also because of the way here the material was chosen, the way natural resources such as bee wax was incorporated in the product ecosystem to improve product attachment and longevity of this product. And last but not least, the Gold Award, Sustainable Leather Product Award in Gold 2022 goes to not one person, but a whole team. It's the Team Fusion from Khulna University of Engineering and Technology in Bangladesh. It's Sakina Islam, Afsana Akhtar Mimi, Farhin Tasneem Maisha, and Tasmia Nurin Poland with their concept Stylish Ladies Bag. And the interesting part here, and it's really a pity that I cannot explain it in more detail, but the interesting part here is that they really thought of the product in a very broad sense. So it's not only the aesthetic design that we focus here in the concept, but the submission addresses many considerations that we point out in the handbook. It's based on a systemic perspective, and it conveys a somehow coherent, convincing, and clever idea. It applies existing elements in an innovative way, which is very important here. And it proves to point to the market opportunities, because it's not only easy, scalable, and feasible to produce, but it also makes use of strategies like reusing materials that are otherwise lost in the supply chain. So this is unfortunately really the short version of this ceremony, so to say. So to everybody, to all the winners, congratulations. And to everyone who did not receive the silver, gold, or bronze award, really be assured that you still are the winner and receive a certificate of being member of the phase 2. Now, I need to finish somehow my part, and I'm already running out of time. But what is the lookout here? What is next? And I want to emphasize here, next is you, so to say. Because the two outputs of this sub-project are the handbook and the leather product design canvas. And both tools are easily downloadable using the links that we will provide shortly in the chat box. And I want to repeat here that they are based on a Creative Commons license. So you're really free to share them on your website, share them in your network, apply it, talk about it. And maybe someday there will be a second version, an improved version, and maybe this improvement will be based on your insights here. So I'm very interested in getting feedback from you and staying in contact with you. So thank you very much for your attention.